I thought I would give you a little update of some of my tropical trees. This is the skyflower, which was trimmed like 3 weeks ago, and it's already like up in here and here, a lot of places. It's gotten new leaves. There's a new leaf, there's some new leaves over here. It's still growing good. Even some of the spots I cut it's putting out new leaves. But yeah, it's looking good. Doesn't look like trimming it affected it much any. So I'll just give you spin it a little bit, show you what it looks like. Some new ones here, some new stuff out here. So that looks to have done pretty good. Next we have my willow-leafed ficus. It has stopped losing its leaves. There are still some leaves that are discolored. Don't know if they might fall off eventually, but overall the leaves look nice and green. There's just a few over here, a few here, and there's a little more in this area. This area just seems to have a little more discolored leaves, but it's doing good. And then in the spring we also gotta take care of these roots. The roots need major work, and I think I wanted it in a different pot. I think this pot's too big for it, especially with me cutting the top bit off. Okay, here is my Portulacaria afra. This is the single one in a pot. In the spring, end of the winter, I'm probably going to plant this one with the other three. They're all in one pot, probably in the other pot. Because I'm decided I was going to keep this one as a separate one and use those as a group planting and get some more trees. But I think I'm just going to make this part of the planting too. I don't really want a single one. I'm going to go for a group planting on these. So that one will be going probably in the other pot. I don't see me using any other pot that I have. If I need a different pot down the road, I will get one. I mean, I think the other green one, it suits it pretty nicely. I like this plant for one, but right now I don't want a single Portulacaria. Now, they have finished losing most of their leaves, as they were doing when I brought them in at first, which is a normal thing. These trees have a tendency to lose a bunch of their leaves when they bring them in. Change of the environment, lack of light. But most of the leaves have stopped, are good shape. There's a few on this one. There's a few like this one. I'm just going to cut this one off. I don't want it here anyways, and it looks like it'll eventually fall off anyways. There's one down here I want to cut off because it's just a big one and it's in the wrong place anyways. But yeah, I mean it's grown out some new stuff. There's some new leaves coming out here, some new ones here. The other ones are pretty much the same. They're putting out new leaves. But that is that one, and I'll get the other one in a couple seconds. Here are the other three. Like I said, they're doing pretty much the same as the other ones. I don't see any leaves that look like they're ready to fall off on this one. So there was just a couple on the other one. Yeah, I mean, they're still growing like the other one. There's some new buds. Some here coming out, some just coming out. So, and this one used to only be about down there where my fingernail is. It was a real tiny thing when I got it. And it has grown quite a bit in a year. because it's been about a year since I bought these. I bought them last winter. They were bare root cuttings that I got that they had already got some roots on them. They weren't the ones with no roots. Weren't cuttings with no roots. They were cuttings that had been rooted. I have not had luck yet rooting these myself. I tried this summer, but didn't have much luck. So I'm sure I will try again this year, trying to get some more, because I could use a couple smaller ones in the group planting, but I still think this will be the pot, at least at first, that I'll use. I think it goes fairly well with these. I like this pot with them. It's not the greatest pot. It's a little bit of it's a lower quality pot. It's not the best quality pot, but I like it. So, and they're all like the big one. These are all very tight in the soil. This one's a little loose, but I just think that one doesn't have the root system the other ones have to really grip into the soil, because I mean, they were all loose when I repotted them this summer, and you give them maybe a month and a half, and they usually start really firming up in the thing. I don't actually tie these in with wire. I don't find, well, at least these don't have big enough root system yet to really warrant the wire. The wire doesn't help. It's easier just to prop them up with rocks until they firm up. I've had no problem with that so far. Okay, these are not tropical trees, but they're part of my indoor trees this year because I grew the seedlings the beginning of the fall. I collected these in, I think, October. It might have been the end of September, but I'm pretty sure it was October. I put them in a plastic bag with a moist paper towel and stuck them in the refrigerator for about a month, and then they started putting out the top and some roots out of the acorns. So these are oaks, and this is what I have so far. They'll be in here until the spring when they can be put out, and they'll grow through the spring and summer. And I mean, there's something I'm starting. I may do something with them, I may not. I just figured I could gather the acorns easily at the park, and they something to try. I'm not so sure of them because I'm not so sure about the size of the leaves. I mean, I have to make this a bigger tree than I usually have, but we'll see. We'll see what they do. They seem in pretty good shape, except this one has a little, for whatever reason, two of its leaves, it hasn't spread anymore. It just got some brown spots on the leaves. Other than that, the leaves look fine, and it ain't spreading. So whatever happened to it just affected the leaves a little bit on that one. The other ones are fine. If some of them, like, well, this one, these two came out first. This one slowed down. It was sprouting, but it took forever for it to actually do anything, and then it finally sprouted up the last few weeks. And this one still has, as you can see, the leaves are not as green. They're a little bit yellow, and you can see the veins really good, whereas this one is a lot more, well, this one's got a little damage on it too, but these are more deeper green, and I just think that's from being new. The roots are coming out the bottom of all of them, as some of my other trees are. Okay, here we have my bougainvillea. Thought I'd just show you that. I bought this right at the end of fall. Not very big to start with. I was having a little bit of problem with it. It came in a smaller pot than this, and the pot had soil that was a little less draining than what I put in here, the bonsai soil I put in. So I was having a little trouble, was losing some of the leaves. So I thought I pulled it up, didn't try to not disturb the roots that much because there wasn't a ton of them. It was kind of root bound, but it was starting to root bound, but it wasn't, but there's still, it was small, so there wasn't a lot of roots. So more or less what I did was rinse them off in water for the most part and just tried to get the majority of the other soil off and put it in my bonsai soil I use. And it has put out, these are new, this is new. So it seems to be doing fine now. I mean, the leaves are they're like a little wavy, unlike the new leaves, so I don't know if it's not getting something that it should or what. The newer leaves look a little better than these two leaves. Have been out for a month or so. These have just started coming out. So it might have just been something, but it's doing much better in this soil. It was just not drying out in the house. I mean, I hadn't watered it at all when I got it. I watered it when I got it because it was a little dried out. And I don't think I ever watered it again before I put it in this, and it was just staying wet. I'll give you a little spin of this. But this is just this is really early in its stages. It's got a lot of growth to put on before I can really make it into something. But I just thought I'd bring that one to your attention too. And then all my trees that are in dormancy right now, I checked them out over the last week. They're basically just solid. I went over to see if any of them needed a little bit of water because, you know, they still need some moisture during the winter. They're stored in my friend's house in a room above her garage. The room is insulated, so it doesn't the temperature changes don't change in the room as rapidly as they do outside, which I find is a little better for the trees, it seems. We'll see how they go, but right now, I mean, they've been frozen probably over a month now, and I mean, we had like 4 days of warming up, but that wasn't enough to thaw them out because they were in that room. But they're just solid blocks, most of them. Some of them have dried out on the top of the soil a little bit to where it's not frozen together, but most of they're all frozen, and most of them are completely frozen still. But it was warm, so I went over to check them because I can't really water them when the temperatures are freezing, and we've had quite the cold spell for a couple weeks there, and then we're back into somewhat of a cold spell again, not as bad as we were having. But I figure my first trees to come out of dormancy are usually my weeping willows. They come out early. I think they'll come out somewhere between, from my experience, beginning of March, middle of March. It depends on the weather, I think, but they do come out earlier. And they will, as soon as I see them starting to get ready to put out their leaves, I will bring them over to my house and store them here. And if I happen to get a cold snap where I'm worried about the new leaves getting damaged, I would just bring them in for the night and stick them in my bathtub, which I did last year. I had one cold spell when I brought them home. The rest of the trees will probably start coming out maybe end of May. Not May, and maybe end of March, and through April. And I should have probably all my trees back to my house by the end of April. if things go like they did last year. And then from my previous experience when I was doing trees years ago, but I wasn't doing them in an insulated room that was unheated. I was doing them, I covered them with plastic under my bench just to help keep the wind from drying them out. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, perhaps you could like or subscribe, and see you next time.